ITC and YE for inviting me for this presentation. I'm happy to see so many people on here as well. So let me share my screen right now. And one thing that I want to let everyone know is that I actually live in New Jersey, USA. And so most of what I am going to say here is really going to be from a US perspective, but I grew up in India. And so I will share some of that perspective as well. But working in global institutions, I also have some kind of a global perspective, but most of what you'll be hearing is the US perspective. But that doesn't matter, because whatever is the US perspective can be transitioned over to any country that you are in. So we will be talking about tools and techniques that you can easily pick up from here, and wherever you are globally, you can utilize. So you are you just heard about me from Claire, and I have a whole slide on my professional past. So before we move on, it would be we want to know more about you. We want to know the audience. So Claire, can we have those 4 questions, please?
Sure, there you go. The poll should be up and running. So if everyone can vote, they're totally anonymous. Is everyone seeing the polls? If you can give us a thumbs up, a little thumbs up button, that would be great. Perfect, cool. Cool, so we got some answers coming in. All right, I'll give it another 10 seconds if everyone can respond, and then I'll close the poll. All right, has everyone voted? I see we got 53%. I think some people are maybe have stepped away from their computer, but hopefully they're going to come back. So I'm going to end this poll, and we should be able to see. I'll share the results. So we see we have a number of results there for you, Hamidah. Most people, yeah, most people here are 1 to 2 years in business with less than 5 employees.
That is really nice to know.
All right. Should we launch the next one as well?
I think so.
All right, let's do it. All right, guys, you should see our next poll in front of you right now. How are you feeling during the COVID-19 situation? Feel free to go ahead and answer. Let's see if we can get to 100% of our voters, or of our attendees this time. All right, good, we're getting there. All right, I'll give everyone another 10 seconds. All right, we're almost at 100%. We got 93%. We're missing 1 person. All right, so here are our results for how is everyone feeling during the COVID-19 situation.
It is so good to see that no one said, I don't know. And the reason why we are asking this is because everyone has one of these emotions right within them right now, and that's okay. It's okay to have these emotions because we all have them globally. And it's also sometimes it's good to know, just by looking at this, that you're not alone in this. You have others who feel much like you do. So thank you for being honest with this question. Claire, would you like?
I'm going to stop sharing the results. Go ahead.
Would you like me to now start?
Yep, go right ahead.
Okay, all right. So like I promised, I do have a whole slide on my professional history. And the reason why I have, as you can see, provided you the skills that I got from each of these is because, for example, when I was at Citi and I was a senior credit officer, if I told you over here, and I can use these cool features, if I told you over here that I was the subject matter expert for valuations on collateralized debt obligations, that really would not be relevant to you at this time. So my hard technical skills are not relevant. What's relevant is the soft skills that I garnered when I was there, and also what I can use now at this point in time. So taking you through some of these, and especially the Citi one, because I was at Citi as a senior credit officer for structured products during the 2008 global financial crisis, and I have some nice war stories to tell. But this is where I was in the private sector. I was in risk management for many years, and I was in risk management during the 2008 crisis. Now, being that I was a risk officer for structured products, that is exactly what brought the world down. It was the residential mortgage-backed securities, the asset-backed securities, and I was at Citi. Citi was the eye of the storm. Citi had the biggest volume in those products. And so literally I was in the eye of the storm. It was after things were going sour that there were senior managers who came down to our group and said, all right, explain the risks for collateralized debt obligations. What are they? Absolutely the wrong time to ask about that, right? They should have been asking this question a few years or months ago when they actually started getting all of these volumes. But it happened after, and that's a red flag. And that's why I'm telling you this story. And that is why it was very important also for someone there to have some grit, because there was a lot of finger pointing. You know, why did risk not do this? Why did the structurers not do this? Why did you not think about this? And then it took grit to say, hey, these are the numbers, these were the reports, you had these reports with you. We were trying to explain these reports to you and tell you the train is coming too fast. Someone needs to pause or someone needs to stop. But being that there was also volumes of revenues coming in with this, obviously looking at the revenues, people did not want to hear. And therefore, grit was required to stand up for yourself and also then explain, all right, it's not too late to mitigate future losses. And that's what we started doing then. But of course, after the 2008 crisis, the market completely dried out. The market completely dried out, and it was the Fed that really needed my skills of structured products. So this is where I was a regulator. And again, why I'm telling you this is because the private sector did not need my skills anymore. The whole structured products market was dried. But guess what? The regulators then needed my skills. So there is always a light on at the end of the tunnel. If there is something that is not working in one time or in one scenario, those same things will work in another scenario. And that is so relevant now for COVID-19. And we will talk about why. Right here, I was a management consultant, which is where I learned how to sell, right? My sales skills came from there, which then gave me the courage to start my own shop and become an independent consultant. So and one other thing that I want to tell you is I am a co-owner of Taboka Consulting LLC. My colleague from UBS, the first place that I worked at, he and I got together and we started this company. So again, relationship is key. This is someone I worked with many years ago, but because we kept in contact and because we were in touch with each other, and we knew that we had the same future vision, we started a company together. So relationship is key. So moving on, where are we? And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide because everyone knows where we are, right? This is a black swan event. And for those who don't know what a black swan event is, it is an unpredictable event that is beyond what is normally expected of a situation, and it has potentially severe consequences. Black swan events are characterized by their extreme rarity and their severe impact. No one could have, and you know, there are some people who will say, no, this is not a black swan event, because there were people who predicted this, some health folks who predicted this, but that's for them, that's their perspective. But for the majority, this is a black swan event. No one saw this coming. And so there was, as much as there should have been the regular risk management process that should have been followed, there could not have been any risk management done in any institution that actually could have been geared towards coronavirus or COVID-19. So it is a black swan event. The last time that anyone came across anything like this was in 1918, the Spanish flu, which actually killed anywhere from 20 to 100 million people worldwide. Fortunately, and I keep my fingers crossed that this is nowhere close to this. Fortunately, this will end sooner, and there will be less deaths from this. But again, 1918, which was more than 100 years ago, is what people saw something like this. And so for 100 years, no one saw this coming. And so obviously the tools that were being used were not relevant to COVID-19. It's a fluid situation. It's measured in 2-week time frames, because it seems that if you have the virus in you for 2 weeks and it doesn't become symptomatic, you're okay. So everything in the US, all decisions in the US are being made in 2-week time frames. Of course, USA, and I don't have to prove this to you, New York is the eye of the global storm. Global economies and most businesses are threatened by this. And I'm sure that the reason why you're here is also because your business is either somewhat threatened by this or significantly threatened by this. In US, individuals have lost their jobs. April 17th, the number was 22 million that were unemployed. And the same number in 2008 was anywhere between 10 and 11 million. So you can see that as much as we thought 2008 was bad, this is pretty much taking over the 2008 crisis, and this is turning out to be worse. So overall, lots of uncertainty. Everyone is, if you are going to someone, either a client or a supplier or someone, and they say, we know exactly what to do, we know exactly what is going on, take that with a grain of salt, because there is uncertainty and things are very fluid. So the impact on your business depends on who you are, what is your business, and where you are. So either you're somewhat impacted or you're severely impacted. And what determines that is, what product or service are you offering? Are you an essential? Is your service or product essential or discretionary? Let's quickly go through some of the essentials and discretionaries. Groceries, everyone still needs it, essential. Airlines, which was once essential, no one, you couldn't see anyone who wasn't getting on an aircraft pre-COVID. What's happened to it now? Absolutely non-essential, right? It's in fact, it's the one industry that's been highly impacted. Let's talk about Netflix. So Netflix, for those, I'm sure everyone knows this, it's a streaming service, right? Netflix, people didn't have time to see it. Maybe on the weekends, it was discretionary. But now with everyone working from home and not being able to go for sports or games or outdoors or the movies, this has actually become an essential. So any streaming service has become an essential. Well, let's talk about Zoom. We are on Zoom right now. Zoom was absolutely not essential. But my child, who is in high school, all of his schooling is happening on Zoom. We are having our meetings on Zoom. Zoom is a great feature, which all of a sudden saw a great amount of people flocking to have those non-physical meetings. So Zoom has now become an essential. So again, the reason why we're saying this is because you could have been an essential pre-COVID, but post-COVID you're not, or vice versa. And I hope you're in the vice versa category. But for those who are not in the vice versa category and are in the being essential and now non-essential, there's a lot of work for you to do. And we will talk about that. Who are your clients? Are you business to business? Are you business to customers? If you're business to business, you're better off than if you were business to customers. Which industry are you in? Same examples: travel, hospitality, event planning, all down the drain. No one's using that at all. Distribution, are you online or are you brick and mortar? If you're online, good for you. Brick and mortar, down the drain. Online learning, that is amazingly being used right now. People have the time to do courses and up your skills. So online learning is an industry that has been positively impacted rather than negatively impacted. And again, what is your distribution model? Are you going through someone else to sell your products and provide your services? For example, here, Amazon is big, eBay is big. Is eBay and Amazon something that you go through? And if it is Amazon that you're going through, and if Amazon determines that you are non-essential, and first Amazon used to send us products in a day or 2 days max, now all the non-essentials are being sent in 10 or 15 days. So they are not going to service you as they used to service you pre-COVID. So if your distribution model is direct, then that's great, because now you're not dependent on any middlemen. So this is everything, and this is nothing new. Everyone knows this. This is I didn't provide any new information here, but this is really to set the stage for our next portion of the presentation about where do we go from here. We know all of this. We know, we are aware. I hope you know what your products are, who your clients are, which industry you're in, and what your distribution model is. And you, based on that, have determined whether you are somewhat impacted or severely impacted based on the cannibalization of the revenue that has occurred already. So where do we go from here? Everyone mostly is in survival mode, right? There are wartime CEOs and there are peacetime CEOs. Most of us have become wartime CEOs. And when I say most of us, me including, I am just like you, an entrepreneur, and I am fairly new. I started my consulting firm only 18 months ago. So we are all wartime CEOs. We are all seeing the same impacts. We all need to make the same prudent decisions right now. And so ask yourself these 3 big questions. And I am so glad that I have a mentor, and I hope you have either board or a mentor or someone you can talk to, because these are the 3. As soon as this happened, my mentor asked me to ask myself these 3 questions, which really, really helped me, right? I know it's back to basics, but these are questions that have to be answered. Where is my cash? Where am I getting my cash from? How much cash do I have? Am I close to my customers? Am I just online and I really don't know who they are? If that is the case, can I get closer to my customers? And when I say customers, I'm talking about existing customers. Like, can I get closer to them? What can I do to really understand them? And lastly, who and where is my talent? Which are the employees that are really running the show for me right now? And from that, we have coined this term called thrival. Thrival is thriving after survival. Right now, because everyone is in survival mode, we need to determine, and I've said there's stop all payments, but what I mean by stop all payments is not stop, we don't want to make payments, but stop all your payments for the next 24 to 48 hours. And I'm telling you all of this because this is an exercise I've already gone through. Right? So stop all your payments for the next 24 to 48 hours to determine what is your survival runway. How long are you going to be able to survive with the resources you currently have? Is it 2 months? Is it 2 days? Is it 2 weeks? Is it 4 months? Is it 6? What is it? You have to know that data is crucial for you. What is your survival runway? And then the next thing you want to do is, okay, so if it is 2 weeks, how do I extend that survival runway? Can I make it 2 months? If it is 2 months, can I make it 4 months? Because that's what survival is all about. It's about knowing how far you can go right now with the resources you have, and then doing something with the resources where then you can extend your survival. And then that will help you survive. Post survival, how are you going to thrive? You cannot wait for, if your survival runway is 2 months, you cannot wait for those 2 months and then start thinking about this. You have to start thinking about post-COVID right now. You have to plan for that right now, because if you need to pivot, if you need to move to another service or product that will be in demand post-COVID, then this is your time to plan. And if you have any spare time in hand, you need to be doing that. So that's your thrive. Let me give you an example about when I say if you need to start a new product or service. Let's talk about Instagram. Instagram was started in 2010. Its arrival in Apple's App Store was accompanied by a brief note outlining the company's vision. And the company's vision was very simple. It was to make mobile photographs fast, simple, and beautiful. That's it. And that is how Instagram has thrived. It was post the 2008 crisis. So believe me, every crisis gives opportunities. Grab this crisis as your opportunity. And so Instagram came out of that. Uber came out of that too. Uber's story began in Paris in 2008. Two friends, Travis and Garrett, they were the co-founders of Uber. They were attending the Le Web. It's an annual tech conference in Paris, happens every year. And rumor has it that the concept for Uber was born one winter night during the conference when the pair was unable to get a cab. When they were unable, that's when they said, why can't we get a cab? Cabs should be available at every street, every corner. And that's exactly what Uber is. It'll get to you whenever you want it to get to you, right? So be aware of what's happening right now and see where you can move to if you feel like the product and service that you are offering right now is not going to be in demand post-COVID. I have another example right now. A friend of mine who pre-COVID was very successfully selling an app to small and medium-sized companies to teach their salesmen to make sales pitches. Well, now salesmen are not going anywhere. There are no sales pitches. So what is he thinking? Zoom. He knows all online presentations are on Zoom. So he's seeing if he can actually make any adjustment in his app where he can teach Zoom or online presentations, right? That's a viable adjacent space. That's how you're gonna have to start thinking about this. All right, let's move on to what is it, the lessons learned from 2008. What is it that we learned from 2008 that we can use right now? And these are, again, there are some things that were new that we learned, but if you look at crisis management 101, 201, 301, you'll find these tools in some shape or form in one of those articles. So here are some of the tools from the toolbox from 2008 crisis that I've selected along the way. Depend on your current customer base. You do not have the marketing budget right now. Who is your customer right now? How can you get closer to them? And how can you continue selling to them? Even if you can't continue selling to them, how can you maintain your relationships with them that post-COVID, if they were to buy that product or service, you would be the first person they would be thinking about. We discussed cash is king, but data is number two. You have, and hopefully you have, a lot of data on your customer, on your employees, and even your supply chain, right? Use that data to tell you. So you may be in pre-COVID, you may be in that mode where you're fine, sales are wonderful. All you have to do now is to keep expanding and looking for that next new customer base. Well, that's not the case anymore. So go back to all your past sales and analyze your data and segment your data, use your data to segment your customers, your employees, and your supply chain. I can give you one example here of my mentor. So my mentor is really a private equity firm owner, and he's invested in about 23 great diverse businesses. He told me one of his businesses is a home furnishings e-commerce company, and that, he said, 90%. So they were just like you, just pre-COVID, they were doing really, really great, right? E-commerce, good space to be in. Home furnishings, even better space to be in, and it is economical home furnishings. And so they went and segmented their data, analyzed their data, and found out that 90% of their customers were women from the age of 20 to 45 years who were earning between, not themselves, but had a family income between $100,000 to $200,000. So they then went and analyzed it further and said, all right, who are these women? They were mainly engineers, so software engineers, IT, healthcare, nurses and doctors, and housewives, homemakers. And their business is only down 14% because they realized they did this calculation and analysis and knew who they need to cater to. They need to cater to those IT software engineers who now need to beautify their office because their office has become, their home office, because their home office has now become their office. They're not going to office anymore. So give them good furniture and accessories for their office. Nurses, they are right out there in hospitals and those depressing circumstances. They want to come back to a beautiful home. What can we do to give them a beautiful home? And that's who they targeted. And now they moved their runway from 15 weeks to 26 weeks. So it's really, that kind of analysis that you want to do. Take control of your distribution. Can you sell directly? Do you really need the Amazons of your countries and you really need the eBays of your countries, or can you really go direct? Here's an example. In the US, there is this chain, or not even the whole of US, it's just Northeast. There is this chain called Wawa. Wawa makes excellent sandwiches. My 17-year-old can live for breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Wawa sandwiches. And very good coffee. I love their coffee. Well, Wawa is about 2 miles from home. I'm not getting out of my house, so I'm not having Wawa coffee. Now, Wawa delivers coffee to my house. So once in a while, or twice a week, or whenever it is that I urge Wawa coffee, I just order it online, and in about 10 minutes, it is at my door with the bagel, with cream cheese. Someone's ringing my bell and someone's gone. And I open the door and grab my coffee and my bagel. So access, it's what is your distribution model? Evaluate your supply chain. If you were dependent on out of the country suppliers, that's now you're negatively impacted. Can you go local? Think of other suppliers that you could diversify to. This is the rough part, right? So when you are looking at your data and your numbers and your cash, and you realize that you have only, say, few weeks of survival, you're gonna have to cut. You're gonna have to cut in every way you can. Your costs have to, so 2 ways of increasing cash. Basic 101, increase revenue or reduce cost. You cannot increase revenue at this time. You have to reduce your cost. You have to cut deeper. You rather look back and say, I cut too deep, but I am alive, versus I should have cut more because now I am gone, right? So those are your two options. So DT is equal to DA. Drastic times equals drastic actions. You just have to take them. Yeah, you have to bite the bullet on that. Be transparent with your employees. Very important. Your employees are the ones carrying you. I know most of you just have 1 to 5 employees, as we saw from the poll questions. And for you particularly, you have to be transparent with your employees, because those are the 5 that you're depending on. For those who have more, you have to then segment your employees and see who are your non-essential ones, who are your essential, and who are your strategic. And then for the non-essential, you can furlough them for now. Cut deeper, back to number 5, right? Cut deeper. So you can furlough them, but be transparent with them. And at this point, it's not like you're even have to give them an excuse, because they know exactly what's going on, especially if you're transparent with them. Your essentials, cut their pay if you can, again, by being transparent. And your strategic ones, treat them really well. And that does not mean increase their pay, but treat them well. You have to know how they're doing. And that's where that personal touch comes in. Let's see where we are with time. Okay. Next few. These are the important ones. And I'm going to actually pull out these 3 out of the toolkit right now, right away. Renegotiations. There was a question that someone asked when they were filling up the form as to how to renegotiate terms of loans with banks. The loans with banks are either collateralized or non-collateralized. So if they're collateralized, which means that the bank is using assets to give me 1 second here.
Hamidah, it's fine. You can continue. There's no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize. Okay.
No worries.
Right.
No worries.
Okay. This is good.
That's perfect.
Okay. Good. All right. So we are going to renegotiate. So we are talking about renegotiating with creditors and banks. Somebody asked and said, how do we renegotiate with banks? So like I was saying, there are 2 types of loans. It could be collateralized or non-collateralized. And as far as the collateralized loans are concerned, it's the bank is using your assets to hold with them, and they have a lien on your assets. And if you cannot pay those loans, then they will be using your assets. Like they'll take away your assets. And so that's collateralized. If you have collateralized loans, then you can ask the banks to have, so the banks will take your assets and give you like 60% of those assets. Well, you can ask the banks to reduce the haircut. Instead of giving you 60%, you can say, give me 70% of the assets. And so you will get more money from them in that case. Or you can negotiate, if it's non-collateralized, to either extend the term of the length of the loan, or you can ask them to reduce the interest. And right now, banks are getting these requests from everyone. You're not going to be the first person. Everyone's going to be requesting for these renegotiations of terms, and they are open to that, because up until now you have been providing them with the income that they have been getting. And so they need to keep you close as well. Like you need to keep your clients close, they need to keep you close. Suppliers, what do you do with renegotiations with suppliers? If you were paying after 60 days, well, now you can pay, see if you can pay in 80 days or 90 days. So, that's the renegotiations you can do with suppliers. And and again, same thing, if you're renegotiating with your suppliers, they too are renegotiating with their own suppliers. So right now, everybody is in that place where they all need to do that. Renegotiate with your landlords. Rent, if you're paying rent. In the US, if you are not occupying the office, then the landlords are being considerate enough and having you not pay the rent. But I'm not saying all 100%, they don't have to do that by law, but they're just doing that. And so if that's what you can do, that's great. If they want you to pay 20%, pay 20%, whatever it is, but you can renegotiate. Here's the big one. Government programs. We have government programs here. And those are simulation packages that you can benefit from. I myself have already applied for one. It's called the Paycheck Protection Program. See what government programs are out there and see if you can avail of them, because that's there. If you won't, like, it should be availed of, is what I'm trying to tell you. So as soon as this happened, I got on a webcast that was run by Deloitte, a management consulting firm here, that told everyone what programs are available to them and how they can apply for them. And that's what we did. Be forgiving. If when you go out to suppliers and ask for looser terms, if you are supplying to someone and they come and ask you for looser terms, it's what goes around comes around. Be forgiving, but again, not so that your survival runway becomes shorter. That's not what we're looking to do here. But if it doesn't affect that, then it's just incumbent on us to be forgiving. And lastly, hold on to your grit. You will need it, absolutely. That's one thing, that do not give up. This is not the time to give up. This is the time to think differently. This is the time to think uniquely. This is the time to think out of the box. So try to do that. I do have another slide on the real risk management, but I don't want to go through that. Right now, let's do questions first. And when I say real risk management, this is stuff something that companies should have done pre-COVID. And if they haven't already done pre-COVID, it is something that they can start now, but it is for post-COVID. It's not something that they can get an immediate impact. This is like something that's short-term. I mean, that's longer-term impact if these things happen. And it's really creating a risk management framework, establishing procedures, having a business continuity plan, which is very, very important. So after this, if we don't get to this, after this, if anyone wants to understand business continuity plans, wants to understand recovery plans, then please reach out to me. My information will be with you, and you also have my email address on the first page. Lastly, consult reputable information sources in your countries. In the US, it's the Risk Management Society. I looked up South Africa, the Institute of Risk Management South Africa, IRMSA. If there are such firms in your countries, then please look up their information because they are reputable sources. And right now, the worst thing to do is look at non-reputable sources and get bad information and then act about that. So Claire, handing this over to you for questions. Sorry, I ran over a bit.
No, it was great. Really enjoying it. And I've just posted in the chat again, welcoming anyone who has questions now. But of course, we did gather questions from all the attendees So we're going to go ahead and pose some of those questions to you. First off, thank you. The presentation was excellent. And just so everyone knows, we are recording, so this will be shared at a later date, so you can return back to those slides on getting deeper into risk management and the top tips from 2008 at a later date. But until then, I'll hand it over to David to dive into the questions.
Thank you, Claire, and thanks a million, Hamidah. I had a chat this morning with a young entrepreneur, a friend. I think I'm going to send him to you because he had many questions that you addressed in this very interesting presentation, and for this first webinar of a series about thinking about the essentials, and there you covered many aspects, and particularly like the toolbox, and we might get questioned about that. But as Claire mentioned, in preparation to this webinar, we gathered several questions from participants, and I must say that the groupings of those questions could go into three kinds of areas. We're talking about human resources management, the financial management, of course, and the customer management. And one of those questions regarding human resources, maybe we can tackle this question later. But I was particularly interested about one, and you touched a bit on that. Sorry. So you particularly touched on one of the topic, which is about renegotiating payment terms, and you mentioned the collateralized loans or not. And there was a question about how to renegotiate payment terms, which is this is not necessarily only related to loans, but it could be related, I guess, also to providers of services. So I was wondering if you could elaborate maybe on how to renegotiate payment terms with providers of services or products to your company, for example, if you have any tips on that.
Yeah, so a couple of things that come to mind is, again, with the service suppliers, you do have terms with them. If you are not paying cash and if you are using their credit, then you could have, your terms would be, say, if I pay in 30 days, you will give me a 2% cut discount on the total payment that I make to you, right? So if you have any such terms with your suppliers, then you can negotiate on both ends of it. Hey, I'm not going to be able to pay you in 30 days, so I will be paying you in 45 days or 60 days or whatever that you can renegotiate with them. And if I pay you in 45 days, instead of 2%, you give me 1% discount. And if I'm paying you in 60 days, then you know what? Don't give me any discount. So those are the kinds of negotiations you can do. If it is a cash and you have to pay cash on delivery, well, you need to convert that to credit, because only then will you be able to extend that survival runway.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And also regarding external relationship, there was a question on, I mean, that's the $1 million question, I guess. It's how can we mitigate, young entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs can mitigate low sales at this time? If you have any further tips on that.
Yeah, that you're right. That is $1 million question, really. And there is low sales. There is low sales for everyone, unless you're a Zoom and unless you're a Netflix, right? So if you're in that category, you're not even asking that question, obviously. So yes, there is low sales, and that is why going back to a tool in the toolkit, focus on your current customer base. They've already bought from you. They know who you are. They trust you. Either use that trust or magnify that trust. Get close to them so that you are the ones that they will buy. Going back to my Wawa, I love Wawa coffee. Now, I was getting coffee withdrawal symptoms. If Wawa had not delivered coffee to my door, if I'm in the house for 2 months, I am going to go get over Wawa. I may not want to go back to Wawa because now I'm not quote unquote addicted to it, right? So don't let that happen. Keep on with your current customers and see how you can. My brother is in India, and he is a subject matter expert in cloud kitchens there. And he told me that cloud kitchens are the ones without any space to sit in. And he said the cloud kitchens are delivering, all Indians basically are foodies. So they're delivering food, any kind of food that they had pre-COVID. Now in post-COVID, they're delivering them to the door. Right? So that's the kind of things you'll have to think about and do for your current customers.
Which leads me to a question from one of our participants today regarding the reducing costs during this particular time. But what would you recommend still to ensure that you maintain the quality of the service you're providing and that you don't lose the market? I mean, I guess we have to be maybe product or service specific, but based on your experience, maintaining quality, reducing costs, how to do cost killing and having the same level of quality and customer satisfaction? That's another $1 million question.
Quality can never be compromised on, right? If you compromise on the quality, your customers will see right through it. They will know that you've compromised on the quality. So that's a no-brainer. You cannot compromise on quality. So let's forget about that. You do whatever it takes to maintain your quality, if not improve. What can you do for cost cutting? You have to get back to the drawing board and see where you're utilizing most of your cash. I know this sounds repetitive, but where are you utilizing more? You can't just have stuff in your brains. It has to come out on paper. Sit down on the table with a paper, segment it into 5 things. How much am I paying to my supplies? How much am I paying for my marketing costs? How much am I paying my employees? How much am I paying to keep the office going? If you feel like you have an office and you really don't need it because most people are working from home, shut it out, lock it. So you're not using the electricity. That's little, it's like drip, drip, drop. Little, if you save little somewhere, ultimately you will see that those account to a lot of savings and it will cut into your costs.
And there are many questions on the group chat, and there's one that links as well to gaining customers. We talked about not compromising about quality, being innovative in delivery channels. Regarding marketing, I'm curious. For example, this type of webinars, we can't meet people. We can't be physically speaking with people in the same room for the moment. So would you recommend, for example, organizing these kind of webinars to promote your service, or use of social media, a mix of channels? How can we still market while being at home?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, these calls are very essential. These calls, if it was not essential, the participants here would not be here, right? So this is a great this is a great channel for marketing. If you are not marketing your own products, guys, you can actually just have these knowledge sharing webinars and put your name in front out there that you are the ones who are hosting this knowledge sharing webinar. That itself is marketing for you, right? That itself is, they will remember they will remember when post-COVID that you're the one who gave them all of this great knowledge that they're using right now, and then obviously they would want to come to you for whatever product or services that you're selling. So yeah, it is the time to use different channels, think outside the box. I have a kid over here who actually rakes leaves for gardens, and he came out. As soon as I walked out, I saw a little post-it note right in front of my door that says, I still can rake leaves contactless. Please contact me, right? Like please call me. So that was great. He's an 18-year-old kid, and I thought that was a great marketing ploy. And I immediately called him and said, hey, come rake my leaves, right? So however you can do this, you have to think outside the box here.
And it's you mentioned.
I have one more. I was just looking at the notes. I think there is a great idea here. Someone said, would barter be a fair form of negotiation with service providers? That's a brilliant idea. Yes. What can I give to you in kind and not in cash that you can then accept, that you can use for the services? I mean, for whatever you supply me. That's a brilliant idea. If that's what you can get to, then it's a win-win situation.
Excellent. Thanks for reacting live. We still have 5 minutes, and there was also a question from Turkey, and there was, if you had any recommendation about the basics of risk management action for pre-startups, I mean early stage ventures that could be whether implemented now, of course, but also to anticipate the future.
There are lots of risk management tools for pre-startups that if you do it right, it will serve you well when you start up. But it would take a lot of time for me to talk about those right now. It all starts with a risk management framework and everything that goes under it as to how you measure your risk, how you monitor your risk, first come up with so I can do this offline with whoever asked that question, if that's okay.
Okay, sure. Maybe another one on human resources, and also I'm personally quite interested about that one. Is what would you recommend in order to manage remotely your staff? Is there any good practice?
It's funny, but I actually haven't had a slide on it, which I didn't put, but I can now use it. It's here. It's right here. Please. I just hit it, so I can. Thank you for letting me use it. Here it is. It's right here. Okay.
All right. Yes.
Oh.
It's not part of the slideshow, but that's fine. We can see it on the screen.
You can see it? Okay, great. Yeah. So how to monitor your employees when working from home? Few things. Smart tasks with deadlines. What is smart? Smart is something that you can, I need my notes for this. Okay, M stands for measure, M is for measurable, A is for actionable, R is for, what is R? T is for time bound. I forget S and R, but look it up. It's called smart goals and smart tasks.
So you would recommend smart tasks with deadlines?
With deadlines.
I can see be transparent.
Yeah, be transparent. All team members should. So if you have 5 members, each of them should know what it is that each of them is doing, so that if there is one person who has to finish before the second one starts, they know who's accountable for that. So keep everyone accountable. Be transparent. You can have meetings every morning. Agile methodology requires that you have meetings every morning, so you can have that, or you can have employees self-report at the end of the day as to what they did. And lastly, I'm saying trust. Focus on the culture. Make sure your culture is such that everyone feels accountable, everyone feels responsible, and everyone is doing what they're supposed to do.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, and I can see other tips on the slide, and I would maybe if I can share my little tip, it's also discuss all the things in work online. That can work as well, having a little tea from time to time, and so we are also in touch with people even if we don't meet at the office. We are at the end of the session already. I can't believe it's been an hour already. And I would really like to thank you Hamidah, and all our participants, and Claire as well for putting this together. You're the first one of this series of webinar as part of the Youth and Trade Program series of webinar. So I would like now to really congratulate you for this very interesting hour we spent together, and also remind the participants who are with us online. I mean, this is the first series of several ones that will come, and maybe Claire, with your talented online skills, you can share maybe the COVID-19 newsletter and kit that we prepared for our young entrepreneurs. And there you can find all kinds of details about what we do in this area, but also our email address. So we can voice your question to Hamidah after this webinar if there's any other point coming on that. And there is also a survey and regarding this session specifically that we would like you to fill, so we can keep track of your needs and upcoming collaboration. So thanks a million again, Hamidah. And
I really hope this was helpful, and I really had a good time. Great questions, and thank you all for being here.
Yeah, we have a clap coming in from Kago, and I got a number of messages privately saying that they found the information really helpful. If I can just ask my colleague Young, we have a number of things we'd like to share with people. One is the feedback form. If everyone can take the time to give us your feedback, what you thought about this webinar, and what topics you'd like us to cover in the future, that would be amazing. It's 5 minutes or less. Then as well, Hamidah, you're a coach on the Yay Community platform. For those who are not already members of Yay Community, you can actually create an account and connect with other mentors as well as Hamidah through the platform. So if Young, she's sharing Hamidah's profile, so you can send Hamidah a message directly through the platform to ask her more in-depth questions. And of course, we have another episode coming up next week with another expert that'll be on cash flow and liquidity. So please join us for that. Young has just posted that link in the chat, so you can all join in immediately and get signed up for the next one with another expert. So thanks so much, Hamidah. And as well, guys, you know, if you want to get in touch with her and follow up, she's available. Oh, we have a hand raised from Odidas Julius. Maybe I can, Odidas, if you want to, maybe we just have one question from him if you have time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I do. I absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Now, I heard you hint on collateral and non-collateral loans. Yeah. Now, I have a challenge because right now, you know me, I deal in VSA, that is Video Learning Association, but currently we are not really saving. And so what do I do? These people don't have collaterals, and we just used to save on a lower basis, and then of course they would pay the loans when they start up their own income generating activities. So right now they have not started up their income generating activities, and they are stuck. What do we do?
So Julius, my advice to you would be to have a more in-depth conversation with Hamidah outside of this webinar. So you can get in touch with her through the Yay Community platform. As well, Hamidah, if you're comfortable, I can give Julius your direct email. And then you guys can, so she can give you more in-depth advice on that, because I think it's beyond the scope of this webinar. Hopefully that answers your question, but so we don't keep everyone too much overtime. Oh, there you go. She's posted her email directly in the chat for anyone who wants to get in touch. So thanks everyone so much. Please complete the feedback form. It will help us a ton, and we'll see you next week for the next session. Ciao.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks everyone.